Hello, I'm Dr. Harley Farmer, and this video is going to take me through 12 chapters in my new book, which is called What is Eczema? How to End the Misery Quickly. I think it's useful to explain how I got involved with eczema, and it relates to the fact that when I was a student I actually had very bad eczema, to the point where if I went for a run I came back with my whole face just looking red. Now I couldn't hide my face. All the medical advice was, tough, you've got eczema, live with it. And that wasn't very helpful. As my knowledge of pathology and disease processes improved, I found a way of ending my eczema. Now, all those decades ago, I wasn't working in the field of skin, so I didn't actually get round to sharing it. Sorry about that, but there was no particular logic in doing so. Many, many years later, I created a company which was making skincare products, particularly for nurses who had dermatitis on their hands. Now, a third of the nurses can have that, so it's quite an important issue. What came out of that was some of those nurses ended up taking the product home, using it to cleanse their children, and then they told me that children's eczema had ended. Now, initially I said, well, no, it was just good luck, but then we got enough of them. And I started to ask questions. Now, I like asking questions because that gives answers. Answers are good as long as you're prepared to do something with them. So let's start with the first chapter is called, What is Eczema? Now, for most people, it's confusion because you've got a situation where you'll be over here, you've had eczema for years, different doctors give different ideas, different products work this month, don't work next month. It is terrible. So that's as simple as that. However, we take that into chapter 2, which is called Simplicity Before Complexity. Now, the reason for those words is that, as I said earlier, I came into eczema by eczema disappearing in children. You can't get much simpler than not even knowing you're doing it. That was very, very fortuitous. Then when I started looking into those individual cases, I started to see the complexity. And when I realized how many things are being done and the disease just continues, I got to realize that complexity means you maintain. Simplicity means you end it. Third chapter is Cure Not Needed. Now that scares a few people because if you've had eczema for years and decades, you're really, really looking for a cure. Simply in this chapter we're saying 1 in 5 children tends to have eczema around the developed world. That's a lot of children. The good news is that 80% of them grow out of it. They end their eczema. Now, since there is no cure, they didn't need a cure. That is where the mismatch is occurring. These people believing you can't, these people saying, well, we did. That's quite useful. Chapter 4 is conspiracies. Now, this one really does rattle a lot of cages because I hear people out there saying, look, all these products that you suggest are causing eczema, that must be because these big companies want to make profits out of our diseased children. That sort of thing happens. Now, in this chapter I go through saying, look, the conspiracy theories are good, it allows people to have a voice, but it uses up a tremendous amount of energy on this side over here where you're managing eczema, maintaining eczema. What if we could take all that energy, put it on this side where we're simply ending eczema? That's what that chapter's all about. Then comes emotions. Now, in the video for that particular chapter, I'll take you through a little bit of a presentation just to show you how intense the emotions can be. And for an example, just imagine you're looking down into the eyes of, say, a little girl, 2 years old, really, really severe eczema. It does not feel good. But imagine if you gave the parents the clue that got that child out of eczema. Does that feel good? Believe me, it does. That's the sort of emotion we're talking about. Over here, a lot of negative emotion. We'll find we know it's there. Over here, huge amount of positive emotion. Let's share it. Chapter 6 is definitions. Now, the first one is, what is eczema? And it is complicated. When I read my medical textbooks, it's complicated. So we're left with a lot of definitions that really don't help that much. And if I just use the example, if we take the simple definition of eczema being itchy skin with scratches here and stuff like that, then in actual fact you'll find that the definitions don't help you very much. Because itchy skin with red spots, you get that in chickenpox. You get that when somebody grazes their knee. It's not eczema. So I feel a little bit sorry about the complexity that the medical establishment is forced to go through, and what I like to do is just break down those definitions piece by piece until we find something useful, and that's what that chapter video is going to be about. Misconceptions, this is where I challenge most people's boundaries, because there are things like people say moisturizers moisturize. We discussed that. Steroid creams reduce the inflammation. I know the steroid does, but the cream causes the inflammation. So do steroid creams reduce it if they're causing it? These sort of things, they warrant discussion. They're really important, and that's what that chapter video is about. The 8th chapter is the 7 ologies. Now, what I'm doing here is saying to people, over here you're managing eczema, over here we're ending it. Quite a simple step. But I want the people to know that that simplicity is actually based on something relevant. So there are 7 different ologies, things like dermatology, immunology, pharmacology, psychology. We go through 7 of them, piece by piece. Luckily, you don't have to know very much about either of them because the whole set works together. Now, what I've done is taken a lot of time to see what's happening over here, see which ones work, how they work, so that we can end eczema. Eczema cycle is the 9th chapter. Now, there I'm talking about the fact that, just imagine a child with a skin rash is taken to the doctor. They have to go there in case it's bacterial meningitis. I mean, if it's that, it can kill them. So it's really important to take that child to the doctor. But if the doctor's having one of those days where they say, well, yeah, okay, it's a child, it's got a skin rash, here's your steroid cream, go. What will happen there is that that rash might have actually been temporary. It wasn't eczema. But if they're putting on a steroid cream, and that cream, as I believe, has got the capacity to turn that rash into eczema, then when the child comes back, it's going to be eczema. The false diagnosis becomes proven true. Then you've got a situation where you've got damaged skin, gets treatments that cause damaged skin, which means more treatments, which means more eczema, and that's the cycle. It's easy to break out of once you identify it. Chapter 10 is the 7 biggest mistakes that I see people making with eczema. The beautiful thing about this chapter is that after each one of those mistakes, I challenge the reader to say whether they want to listen to it, whether they want to do anything about it, and if they do, are they going to do the same with the other 6? At the end of that chapter, if they've said, yeah, okay, that makes sense, I'm going to go with all 7, they'll end their eczema. However, if they say, well, yeah, 4 I was okay with, 3 I think I'll dispute, then that's where you're going to stay. You're going to keep doing eczema. Your choice. The X-Eczema program is chapter 11. Now, X-eczema is a word that I've created to mean over here after eczema. So I don't spend much time in eczema because a lot of other people are doing that. What I want people to do is just stretch their minds and say, this is eczema, that is X-eczema. It sounds simple, but the really, really important point I want to get across is 90% of this success we talk about is knowledge. Now, that knowledge is freely available on our website. We share it with you in the hope that you will share it with others and it'll spread around the world. You have to believe that you can end eczema. If you do, you will. If you believe you have to stay managing eczema, maintaining eczema, you will. That's nice. Sad, but that's the way it is. So the X-Eczema program breaks into 2 parts. One is that knowledge on how to end eczema. Second relates to skincare products, so we have cleansing products to help the skin when you're actually getting out of the eczema. Now, you'll need to watch video 11 to go through that, or buy the book and read chapter 11. Now, the final chapter, chapter 12, is advocates and the next step. Now, as you can imagine, whenever we get a person to go from eczema to X-eczema, they're thrilled. They trust us. The good news is they then come back and help us, because they're advocates who are letting people over here know, look at what's going on, challenge it, try it, follow it through, and you'll be out. That's really, really nice. The next step is who can those people tell? Obviously, people who've still got eczema or parents of children with eczema, or maybe the head teacher, the local doctor, the dermatologist. It's a massive world out there. We know we've got millions of people in eczema, and there are millions of other people associated with them, so let's share. It's time for fun. We now know what's going on over here, we know how to do that, let's share it. That's the next step. So thank you very much. I hope you will follow through the video chapters. All told, they take about 45 minutes, so there's quite a bit of knowledge there. The book itself is only 25,000 words, so most people can read that in 3-4 hours. What I tend to find from very busy parents of children with eczema, because you know they don't have much time, is that they love the way the chapters are broken out, because they can do one chapter tonight, another one tomorrow night, and basically over a fortnight they've got the book done. In a fortnight they know whether they want to do the eczema program. If they do, they'll end the eczema. If they don't, it's okay, they can do it next time. Great, so thank you very much and look forward to sharing with you again.